with you. It's been a little bit of a time since we last
Yep.
had a live show. I've been traveling all
Yep.
over the place. I was in Turkey for a little bit and was in California recently. But so many things happening in sport.
Oh,
Lots
yes,
of
boy.
interesting stuff. I don't know where I want to stick with track and field, but if at any time you feel like you want to explain to the world what's happening with Liverpool, we can take that on the back end as well. But
More than willing to do that.
yeah, but you've been busy. I mean, you've been dealing with a lot of different videos. Brianna Williams, Oblique Seville, you name it, Orlando Bennett. There's a lot of people on the channel. And yeah, I'm happy to see that you're getting some busy stuff, and you've been talking about the Marvin Bracy stuff and
Yep.
all the things surrounding LA and so on. But before we get into everything, I want to clearly talk about the LA thing because I think it's really upsetting for a lot of people, and we want to
Oh, yeah.
unpack that in some interesting ways. But let's start with Elaine Thompson-Herah. Earlier this summer, you talked about her in Spain, moving back there, working. And now it's all over the news landscape that she's officially back with Ronaldo Walcott. So your take on that?
Well, look, we had heard and of course eventually confirmed that she was training with Elite Performance in Spain while they were there preparing for the World Championships. Because Megan Tapper and who else was from Elite was there. One of the 400-meter runners, I believe, was there as they were preparing for Worlds, and they were competing in Europe at the time as well. What I wasn't sure about was whether or not that was going to be a permanent thing, because Elaine has been bouncing around a lot the last couple of years, so I wasn't quite sure what's going to be permanent from that. But so it's not really a surprise to me that she's now back with, at home with Elite, and it's a better situation for her now because Shelley's no longer there. Shelley's retired. They've lost Kerika Hill to MVP. They've lost Megan Tapper to Lovey. So he has room now to focus on her. So basically it comes down to Julian Fort, because Kemba Nelson left as well. Julian Fort, Rochelle Clayton, and now Elaine. So he has three. I don't want to say elite, well, call them elite. Yeah, elite athletes who are there, who we can now focus on, because everybody else around there is still developing or have not developed. So I don't know if he's going to cull those, because with Shelley gone and Kerika Hill gone and Kemba gone, I'm thinking that his revenue would have been cut. So to focus on those core athletes, so probably gives him a better opportunity to work with her and see if him can get her back to some level of performance, because I sent him a message today to wish him all the best with the lane, because as I said to him, certainly Elaine not getting back to 10.5, but get to a level where she can at least be competitive, because she's 33 now. I mean, not everybody is Shelley, not everybody is Merlin. So if she can replicate anything close to that 10.5, 10.6 era from 4 years ago. I saw a video of her there running at a sports day. And I mean, she didn't look bad, but then she was running against nobody. So it's not like she was running against a world-class figure looking good. But so what I will say is that now that I think he probably have more time to focus on her comeback, that maybe we can see an Elaine Thompson that's going to be a 10-year athlete, or somewhere in that region, because it will be, to me, to be foolhardy to expect somebody Elaine to be running 10.6s anymore. I think that era that ship has sailed. The issue with that injury that she has, that has been plaguing her for years, doesn't allow her to generate that kind of power of the track anymore. So I don't think that's going to be possible. But if you can get somewhere between, say, 10.8 high or 10.85 in that region, I don't think she'll be competitive globally, because realistically, what we've seen from the Clayton twins, Melissa Jefferson, Julian Alfred, and other women coming through, that maybe she can be like a a solid relay team member, assuming that the Clayton twins push on. We saw it. We see 76 and 10-81 from them last season. And then Brianna Liston comes through. Now that she's working with Lance Brahman. Maybe she can be a useful member of the Jamaican team as a member of the relay, or maybe even not third. Maybe behind the Clayton twins, maybe she's the next best. Maybe at 10-8 or something. Maybe we can get her back there. Because I mean, look, the reality for me is that she hasn't competed much in the last 3 years, and she hasn't competed since last year when she broke down in New York. So her body is relatively fresh. So maybe that's an advantage that you can come back with. That's something that you can work with that can get her to a level where she'll be competitive again. I mean, I honestly hope I'm able to see that. A lot of people who have written her off completely. I am sometimes an optimist. So I'm hoping that she can get back to a level where she can even go in the Diamond League and be competitive, win some races, make some money, and reestablish her legacy as one of the greatest female sprinters of all time.
No, for sure. I want to make it clear because I know the comment sections on the internet can go wild sometimes. And I think you've always been fair to Elaine. You've gotten a lot of heat for probably not necessarily always liking Elaine, and the same and the same for me sometimes. But I think it's important that she finds a way to finish the career. And realistically, and I 100% agree with you, if you're expecting an Elaine Thompson from 2021, then we need to have a conversation on the side. It's not worthy of that kind of discussion. But ideally, hopefully she can stay healthy and get back. I mean, there's a Commonwealth Games next year. That could be a place. She also went to the Commonwealth Games some years ago after.
And she won the double.
Exactly. So maybe she could try and defend there. And for whatever it's worth, I mean, if she can compete at the highest level again, whether that's on a relay squad or something, it will certainly serve the younger athletes to have someone of her caliber, her experience to help navigate a new generation of athletes. So I only see it as an upside. The worst thing that can happen is that she never steps on the track again and finish the way she wants to. And I hope in this case, Mm-hmm.
I've always believed that, look, when you hit your peak, I mean, the only way after that is down. There's no two ways about it. But her decline didn't have to occur the way it did.
Right.
And I think in life, I believe that there's always an opportunity for people to find redemption. And I think if Elaine can come back and represent for even maybe 2 seasons, I mean, 26 and 2027. Because what it is that I think the Clayton twins right now are 10-7 sprinters. We've seen that. But beyond those 2 girls, everybody else is relatively within a 10-9-11 flat, because Brenna Liston has been hurt. I mean, she hasn't competed since season at NCAAs. I don't know what Lance Brahman can do with her in a year, a season. I mean, the background is starting now. Tiana Terry Long is with Shaniki Osborne. We've seen what she did with Brian Level. So if Tiana Terry Long can make I wouldn't even call it a quantum leap, but a significant leap in her first year that we saw with Level.
Right.
Maybe in 2 years she's a 10-year sprinter as well, because we've seen her talent. Sabrina Dockery is over by Lance Brahman. I don't know whether or not he will be able to take her to a 10-year level in one season, because what we've seen over time is that, especially when you're transitioning straight out of high school, your body's still developing. So you're not at that level where your body's going to be able to take that workload and then progress. So it might take a couple of years. And it's the same for Terlong as well. I mean, she's like what, 17 or 18? I don't think she's 18 yet. Yeah. So there's still ways to go. So for the time being, I think the pressure is going to be on the Clayton twins to carry that lead that Shelly left behind, that button that has been passed. Yeah. But it'll be nice to have someone like Elaine with the experience of 5 Olympic gold medals, fastest woman alive, second fastest Jamaican woman over 200 meters, to have that kind of experience to guide them, help guide them along that progress while she continues to make progress in whatever way she can. So it will be good for her to come back and represent well.
No,
I
I
don't
agree
know
with you.
what I don't know what will have manifested from her time abroad in terms of preparation, in terms of where her speed is now. The 3 weeks that are such weeks that she was in Spain working with elite. I don't know what kind of background that gave her for coming to this preseason now to prepare for next year. But given what she's been able to do, if she's able to do that at 85%, I think she'd probably do pretty well.
No, I think yeah, you're right to point that out because there's been a gap in some of the athletes you expected to come through on the Jamaica side. Your Kemba
Mhm.
Nelsons, Brianna Williams, who you just spoke to recently, as well. So there's some space there, and
Mhm.
if she's still in the mix, if she's a 10-8 athlete, she'll get on a team in some capacity, whether
Yeah, for
that's an
real. Because
individual. Yeah,
because I mean, other than Tina and Tia Clayton, there's
yeah,
no other Jamaican woman right now who's running 10 years.
right,
Nobody. So that space is there for her to
yeah,
take, to grab with both hands, and then she can go and represent individually at say, China at 2027 as a 35-year-old.
mm,
Uh,
yeah,
but whether or not that's to be seen. I'm hoping though that honestly that she, for what she's accomplished, she deserves that opportunity to come back and finish her career on her own terms beyond that
right.
injury that has plagued her for a few years.
Cool. Yeah, before we got continue on, and thank everybody. I see people coming in and out, some people on your channel as well. And there's a lot of comments that were there. We'll get to them. I think Sherwood is saying, I abandoned you guys. I didn't mean to abandon you, but life happens sometime. But I'm back. I promise you we'll finish out the season well. Sherwood is also saying that Leighton is out here speaking like a man of reason. He's never going to outrun the allegations that he hates Elaine, I guess. So see, even before while I was saying it,
Yeah,
it's hard to live it down, but I will defend you to the hill. Your principled
I'm just the
man.
messenger.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
exactly.
yeah, it's funny enough, that before that story, I was pretty much in a good relationship with both her and her husband.
Right.
But as I said before, I'm not there to be their PR or their marketing. I'm there to be a reporter. I don't work for them. I used to work for Sportsmax.
Right.
So, yeah, so it is what
Yeah,
it
it's
is. I think it's
interesting. If
fine.
people don't understand, journalistic integrity is a different thing, and you're not running their advertising agency, as you might
No.
you say. Yeah. Yeah. So no, that's that. It's good. We'll end on the Elaine thing there.
Mm.
Hopefully she's healthy. I like that. It's probably the way what you said to just to add to that is, or to highlight it some more. This might be a project for him because there's a bit of a clear out and no one to necessarily distract at that level, right? So he now has arguably the finest sprinter we've seen in a long time over about 1 and 200 meters. And
Yeah.
if he can actually get her right and get her to run even one season that is spectacular, it would put his stock in a different level again, and I sure it would warm the hearts of every track and field loving person,
Yeah, man,
regardless of
for real.
nationality or status. Yeah, yeah,
I forgot he has Antoinette Knight too, because Antoinette Knight has come to him. So yeah,
right,
but it's still not a bigger crew as what has happened in previous years, where I think personally I thought he had too many athletes there to work with and didn't
right.
have either the manpower or the resources to handle all of those people. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But
No, sure.
with the clear out, as I say, I mean, Kerika Hill, Kemba gone, Shelley gone, and there are other people who left. I mean, what's her name? What's his name? Left from last season. Rashid Broadbell.
Right,
So
right. Yeah.
there is space now for him to spend some time and focus on the lane and the crew of athletes at the end, because they're different dynamics, they're different skill sets, different disciplines. So I think he'd probably have more time to work with Julian Ford and Ilian working together as sprinters. Maybe that's the dynamic that crew of two people that are at elite level, where you can say, okay, this is a program that will work for both of them, or similar for both of them, or something.
All right. Hi, Sonia. We saw Sonia coming through. Dynamics have a question here. We'll get back to it later on regarding a lot of coaching changes because it seems like a lot of that's happening. But let's talk a little bit about the LA 2020 program, right? So the
Mm,
Olympics is going to be a massive one. Los Angeles is going to be a one of three to again host the Olympics, what, three times, and
mm,
it's a massive feat, and they're looking forward to this in some interesting ways. But the thing that came out was the 100-meter final on day one of the track and field program, marketed in a way to celebrate women, but not necessarily thinking about how difficult this is going to be. And when I saw it, the words that I really want to say, I cannot say on air because it just wasn't the right. Yeah, when I read this, I was saying to myself, how I cannot believe someone came up with this. And on the heels of what happened last year in Tokyo, this season in Tokyo or in Paris, and all these few years going back, where as soon as the women finish running the 100 meters, they immediately start to run the 200. And you had
200.
a video where you read parts of the agent of Julian Alfred, and they're upset. So
Yep.
can we fix this, Leighton? I know I haven't really asked a real question, but what are these guys thinking? I don't understand this one. Yeah.
I've given it some thought, and the only thing I can come up with that's logical is that the local organizing committee, I
Mm.
mean, it's the USA. The USA has had two of the last three world champions, or the last two world champions. No, yeah,
Yeah, the
sure.
last two. Mm-hmm.
Shakira, last two,
Ari
and
and
Melissa Jefferson.
MJW.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So now that US women are on top, I think they're probably thinking, especially since Nike is running the show now with Melissa Jefferson and with Shakari, and you know the Star Athletics crew, because they're doing well. Where they're thinking that this is an opportunity to re-engage track and field fans in the United States, and win some new ones by highlighting the incredible women's sprinting that the world has come to see for the last 2 decades, especially.
But on
Um,
day one,
yeah, but on day one, and in doing so, you are actually putting the women in a position where they're looking more like guinea pigs more than anything else. Because as I mentioned on the video that I posted last night, I spoke to a number of coaches, both locally and overseas. I spoke to a number of agents, both locally and overseas. And I mean, one agent was actually, he was in Madrid, I think, because there's an agent conference in Madrid that's either just finished or just are still going on. And nobody, not one single person,
mm.
said to me, boy, it's a good idea. Everybody was like, one person said that's total BS. One person said the organizers are losing their SHIT.
Right.
There is nobody that has said, boy, you know, the only one coach said to me, the only advantage that this has, or they have in terms of this dynamic, is that they have 2.5 years now to prepare the athletes to run 3 rounds in one day. But outside of that, it's madness. And of course, it speaks to a level of misogyny where you don't ask the men to do the same thing.
Right.
The men run one round on one day, and then the semifinal final another day. The the lack of willingness to, like, for example, some people wanted to see a Sydney 400 meter hurdle double. Some people wanted to see, I mean, remember it was 96 that they
Yeah.
actually set the
They
schedule for
changed the
Michael Johnson
program
to
for
run the
MJ.
200, 400, but they'd never done that for women. So there's
And
this
I guess
sense that
I guess
this,
Perrick benefited from that too, right? Because she did the double in
yeah,
'96 too.
in
Yeah.
Dublin 96, yeah.
Mm.
So I don't know whether or not people are the organizers, or whether the IOC or World Athletics are whoever is
Yeah.
handling the
LA
USA
committee.
are thinking that, you know, we can run the woman into the ground, because somebody posted under the video that I posted last night to say that the first round they're going to be running at 75%. But what that person fails to recognize is that when they run at 75% or 90% or 80%, it's still expending energy,
Yeah.
right? And you have to warm up for that, which is about an hour.
It's like an hour
Anybody
and a
knows,
half warm up. Yeah.
hour to warm up, and then another half an hour to warm down, and then you add the race to that where you're putting out 75%. Then to come back later on, run a semi-final at 95% or 90% or even 100%, depending on how the semi-finals are set up, and then come back 90 minutes later and run a final. It to me, it is the most inconsiderate decision to do this. And I mean, I understand the comments that were made by Shakari and by Dina. They are Nike athletes, so they're gonna say
I don't
whatever
know
it
if they
is.
made those comments.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
And then Janet Evans, who is leading this thing now in terms of the athletes, the liaison, is saying that they had positive discussions with it. Which athletes I'm talking
With
to?
who? It's nonsense.
Nonsense. Listen, Janet Evans is a swimmer. She has never run 100 in her life. She does not know what it's like when you run from 0 to 70. You have no energy left to have a hold until you get to the line. She's not experienced that. Swimming doesn't take that kind of toll on your body. So I don't know who those people that she had those discussions with. Are they she talk to people from the enhanced games that are going to be running 3 rounds in one day and expect. I mean, every single coach. Funny enough, in all of the coaches I've spoken, I think the only coach that I didn't speak to was Glenn Mills, because I tried to call him and he never answered his phone. But
Right.
from on TVJ the night before, and the coaches I spoke with all said the same thing without prompt any at all. The energy that you have to exert over 3 rounds on one day, it is doable, them say. But you're not going to get the performance that you expect, because at the end of the day, that's what the competition is come down to, is quality.
Right.
So when as one coach put it, let's say you have, based on what we've seen for the last couple of years, a couple of 10-6 athletes in a final after running 2 rounds and they're in a final. And you're probably expecting to see another 10-6 or 10-5. You're probably going to get 10-7 or 10-8. You're not going to get that exciting, explosive performance, because the athletes are going to be tired doing that on all day. And as Warren Weir said, I saw a video from with Warren Weir saying that let's just scrap that. Let them run the race and then walk back and then run the race like that. Because that's what it boils down to. Because what I don't think people understand, and the people who are putting this thing together, is that regardless of the energy levels that you're exerting or how easy it looks, you're still exerting energy. It's like you're driving a car from here to Montego Bay. If you drive at 30 miles an hour, you're still burning gas. So to ask the women to do that is unfair, it's unjust, and it's there's a certain sense of misogyny in it. It's kind of like an old school thinking where you remember Jack Rogg back in 2008 when you see him beat him chest, and he was saying, "Oh, that's don't do that, that's disrespectful." To him, the rest of the world enjoyed it. So there's this disconnect, I believe, between the IOC, maybe World Athletics, and maybe the people on the LA committee, who are oblivious to what is required for you to run 100 meters on the same day at the very top of the sport. So it's not like, say, you're running at the average meet where you have a whole bunch of average athletes running against, where you can easy and cut through. You're talking about the elite of the elite. This is what the Olympics are about, the best of the best. And while
it's
there
the
might be
blue
some
ribbon event in track and field. It's
it is the blue ribbon event.
Yeah, you don't play around with it like that. Yeah.
And the thing about it is that if they were asking the men to do the same thing, you could probably say, okay, they're trying something new. But they're asking the men.
Be wrong.
They're still be wrong, but you're asking the women to take on something that in real terms makes no sense at all.
Yeah. No, I think it's a mistake of the highest level. But there's time to fix it now is the time to fix it. I think it's a bad idea. And rightly so, coaches will prepare athletes. Can it be done? Yes. Should it be done? The answer is no. And I just don't get it. And you brought up something interesting too. because you have to know that they have not talked to any of the stakeholders in terms of preparing athletes in any serious
No,
way.
no,
Because now, and if LA is thinking about stars, and if your hypothesis there or line of reasoning is to try to resell the thing to an American audience, I will say it's the Olympics. It's the only time everybody's watching the sport. This is not like we were dealing in the World Championship here. But you now have an athlete that is beyond generational talent. I don't know if we'll ever see the like in Sydney McLaughlin.
yeah,
And you're telling me she wants to double, and you don't make accommodations for that? No, Sydney
yeah,
has never
because
doubled at a major championship. It became news to us that she might want to double, but Bobby Kersey does what Bobby Kersey does. He's an unconventional kind of guy. But if he's saying that you can't benefit, and she lives in Los Angeles, it's her
yeah,
backyard, everything is comfortable for her, and you don't create that kind of a schedule to allow for something we've never seen. The last time
yeah.
we've seen a 400 that kind of big double is 130 Alberto Montanero. It's not
Monterina
happening.
76.
Yeah,
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 and that's the thing, because if you're a track and field purist, is one thing, but if you are a casual fan and you say, "Boy, wow, somebody want to take on these two tough events," why would you not give them the opportunity to see what unfolds?
right.
So you're selling a sport, and you have an opportunity to create a unique experience for fans. 400 meters, 400-meter double. And you just saw this woman run 47.78.
Yeah.
And she already has the work on the 400-meter hurdles. Why would you not want to see somebody attempt that? Especially when you look
Biggest
at the
storyline.
yeah, because you're looking at Femke Boy, who could present a challenge, because now that she has a 400 in her legs and she's tired, maybe Femke has an opportunity. Maybe some of the other youngsters coming through can say, why there's an opportunity here for us to be Sydney McLaughlin. So you never get a chance to see that, So it doesn't help the sport, because they think they're helping the sport, but they're not helping it at all, because these are some of the things that people would love to see. I mean, personally, I would love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, literally pay the money to see it. I mean, it's like
oh yeah.
it is. Because you will never see it again. At least not. I don't think we'll see it in our lifetime. So it's one of those things.
Yeah.
Crazy. Let me see some comments here before I don't want to lose the chat. I see some people on your channels. I think someone says good evening. Someone also says JB Scene 7 says they're trying to make the women stand out and are going by the wrong way. They're trying too hard. Yeah, I agree. We agree with that. Sherwood is saying now is the time athletes and agents need to speak out. Remaining silent won't help. I don't know if it will. I don't know if it will change anything. To be honest with you, but they have to speak out. Yeah. Average Joe says, "Yeah, go ahead."
No. The dumbest question that clearly people are not athletes running the show. Hopefully they'll change this. Yeah, but look, so basically we've heard from Julian Alfred through our agent,
right?
Because they said that they were not happy with. I have the document right here. It says, "I'm writing to publicly clarify why Julian Alfred will not be offering a favorable comment regarding the recently announced LA track and field schedule, particularly the placement of the women's 100 meters on day one. While early visibility may be presented as a benefit, visibility without fairness does not constitute progress." So he said this to me, and he was kind of reluctant about making it public, but he said, "Go ahead and do it," because maybe this is a start of something. But what it probably does, it probably needs. I mean, the Nike athletes are not going to talk about it,
right?
Obviously, they are constrained, but certainly, some of the bigger voices from some of the other countries need to say this is ridiculous. Why do you want us to put our bodies at risk? Because not only is the issue of underperformance is an issue, but also the possibility of they are running the risk of injury.
Right.
So, for example, you take a country like, say, the Bahamas, for example, that might have a 100-meter run, but they might be able to put together a mixed relay team, right? Because the mixed relays come between the 100 and the 200. And say you have Anthea Charlton, who is now the fastest Bahamian woman since there was Debbie Ferguson, but I don't know who it was. And she's carrying a needle for whatever reason. Because, when athletes train every day, there are no athlete that runs at 100% healthy. And she is a member of this mixed relay team. And she goes into the 100, runs 3 rounds, and then because of the strain, aggravates that injury that she doesn't have time to deal with because of the 3 rounds in one day. And then expect her to come out again and run a 4x4, a 4x1 mixed relay. So, I mean, for the big countries, it's fine. For Great Britain, it's fine. For Germany, it's fine. For the United States, it's fine. But if it's going to be an even playing field for those smaller countries that might have a smaller team where they don't have the opportunity to replace all 4 runners on a relay team, maybe they can replace 1 or 2, maybe the same 4 that run the heats after the final. How does that impact them when one of their key athletes, having had to run 3 rounds at the 100 in one day, then is unable to come back fresh to run a relay the next day? None of it makes sense to me.
No, it's tough, and it's going to be tough for older athletes too, because recovery is harder as you age. And it's just one of those things that they haven't thought through properly. And
yes, well, rest is one of the key things for any athlete in any event. The rest and recovery, is one thing. Because it's key, because if you're not getting the rest, your mitochondrial levels don't get to replenish, and then you go into the next round of competition, you're struggling because you don't have the energy to push as hard as you can. Not because you don't want to, but simply you just cannot. Right. Why do you want to put athletes in that kind of position? We all know the human body works. We all know how the nervous system works. And putting your nervous system under that kind of stress in the elite performance of the event, why would you want to do that? I just doesn't, there's no logic to it.
And potentially in temperatures that are not going to be favorable.
Yep.
Southern California.
July,
really hot. It's going to be hot in the LA Coliseum or wherever they want to be. So, yeah, it's interesting. All right. Thanks, everyone, for liking and putting your comments in. We'll try to get back to a few of these things. I think Dynamics earlier had said Sebastian Cole should have been jailed for that, which is a bit strong. But we do get the sentiment there. Let's turn to a sore moment in the sport, Leighton. There's so many of them coming every day. I feel like if you spent your entire time just following the athletics integrity unit, you couldn't stop. It's just athlete after athlete. But the one that, I'm like, I get like the personalized feeds from them because you just can't keep up. At some moments, I've lost track of how many Kenyans. We didn't even talk about
142.
Yeah, and we didn't get a chance to chat about Roop Chepngetich and all of that stuff. We just saw Mohammed Katir recently. His case at court for arbitration for sport was also not upheld because, the ban was upheld rather because he was technically trying to tamper with medical things for whereabouts. So, but the Marvin Bracy, I want to get to Marvin Bracy because this is interesting because I always take a key note on the operational side of how they go after the antidopers in the United States, especially since Rodchenkov Act and so on. But Bracy hit with a 45-month ban. It could have been longer. That's kind of a split between some whereabouts violation, but also for taking a banned substance. Got time off from that part for cooperating in some interesting ways. What's your take on all of this? Are you expecting a big, a bunch of other athletes to come to get caught up in this, or are we thinking more of the outside networks that provide the drugs?
Right now, it's looking like outside networks because a couple of things. Bracy left Tumbleweed in September of 2023 and went to Star Athletics.
Yeah.
And less than September, October, November, December, January, February, less than 5 months in, he's on a provisional suspension on February the 3rd. I saw a video from Ray's Take, which I mentioned in a video, not the last one previous to that, where Ray claims that Marvin Bracy came to him shortly after Budapest in 2023 and is making some assertions that, boy, some of the men who have beat him, he knows he can beat. Remember, Marvin Bracy, for those who are not familiar, was the silver medalist at the World Championships in 2022. In America swept this. Yeah. Trayvon Bramwell was third, Marvin Bracy was second, Fred Curley won. And in 2023, he ran a couple of races. I ran 993, I think it was, but after that, nothing. Until he left and went to Star Athletics. Now, according to Ray, Bracy came to him and so he gave Bracy a number for somebody who believes could probably hooking up with whatever need. And then he gets a call maybe weeks later saying that USADA is there testing him. Then him said USADA turned up at his place, ask him questions about Marvin Bracy. Now, what he's claiming, he provided no evidence of. So I don't know whether or not he's telling the truth or not, because I know that he's one that is not he's not averse to hyperbole.
Right.
Ray does these dramatics from time to time. So, but if what he's saying is true, then it might have some implication for what happens at Star Athletics, in the sense that if he is taking something that is illegal, and the big question is, did Dennis Mitchell know? Because there's a sense that Dennis Mitchell was the one who was the whistleblower as well. I mean, that's another argument that has no credit. There's no credence. That's just word. But if Dennis Mitchell is not the person who went to USADA with the information, then it kind of casts a shadow over the performances that we've seen there. So that is still to be unraveled. But as it relates to the initial question that you asked, Travis Taggart, in a couple of quotes that I read from him, said that Bracy cooperated.
Substantial. He says he provided substantial assistance.
Substantial assistance, right? Which means that he probably spilled on some of the people who provided him. So that maybe doctors who are doing it, or maybe people who are making the connection between him and the people who are administering whatever he took. So the impression you get is that in the coming weeks, we could probably hear of a few new names or some familiar names,
right,
who are working behind the scenes with athletes who are inclined to boost performance, so to speak. So I don't know. It's one of those situations where there's still a lot of gray area now. What we do know is that Bracy's out for until November 2028.
Yeah,
so he will be he's done. And what we do know is that what I'd like to happen though is that, look, I know there are people who are thinking that Melissa Jefferson was on something. I'm not one of those people who believe that when somebody performs well, it necessarily translates to them doing something illegal. We've seen her talent from college. We saw her come third in the Olympics last year in the rain. So she comes out this season, she runs some 10.7s and then dropped down to 10.6s and stayed there for the rest of the season. I'm not going to say that's extraordinary. That's something that we saw Shelley do in 2022. So I don't know if it will be prudent for them to say, maybe even release a statement, read the Marvin Bracy suspension and to separate themselves from it, as opposed to staying silent. Because the thing about it is damned if you do and damned if you don't. Because if you do, then people are going to say they might try separate themselves from something that they already knew about. But then if they don't, then it leaves people to speculate. Yeah, you say you're hiding something. So it's a tricky situation. But for Marvin Bracy, it's one and done for him because that was the first individual medal that he won in 2022, and pretty much his career is done now, basically.
Right, and they also had that relay medal to a 22.
Yeah,
Couple things on this. So yeah, I agree with you. I am always adamant that you can't in this business you can't do guilt by association. You have to have everything has to line up. You have to catch the
yeah,
athlete. If you think if it is most certainly from what they would have been doing late, and you know this, everybody knows this, from the time the corporation started or even before, there would have been increased out of competition testing. They would be doing all
absolutely.
sort of maneuvering. We know this AIU has that in the code, the protocol. Tygart himself says USADA does this. If they suspect something, they go looking. This is what happened in the Chepngetich case for after she broke the world record, and clearly they couldn't go us back all the way to invalidate the world record, but they got her eventually. They knew what's happening. In this case, it's interesting because he's under investigation with the DEA, Miami Field Division. They're there along with everybody else. So, and when you bring in those guys, they're not interested in what Marvin Bracy took. They are interested in who he got it from, right? They have, and my numbers are mixing up now because I always talk to my Justice Department contacts, and on the I think it's title 18 or 21, I have to check. They are looking for the medical clinics, the doctors, the masseuse, the coaches, and that's the same thing that Rodchenkov, that's the first bill that Trump ever signed into office when he came in, was the Rodchenkov Act, and that's the same thing that went after the Blessing Akabari / Eric Lira case. So we all saw Blessing lost everything, but she didn't go to jail. Lira did, and he had to cough up all of these things. And so the way Travis is saying this is like they're pursuing a lot more anti-doping violations and criminal charges. And so the criminal charges are going to come for anybody associated, and the violations obviously for athletes. This could be bad, but if it is bad, I am happy because you want to get to the bottom of this. The sport has to be clean as best as we can. And we can't go towards enhanced games or whatever people want to talk about. We have to. It's always unfortunate. We've seen nothing has been quite as big as this, but I don't know. Is anything bigger than Balco? Was the Salazar thing?
No, Balco,
yeah.
Not really. Salazar thing was 0-0. But
yeah.
But it's the thing about the Salazar thing is that none of the athletes that Salazar was involved with were like names in the lights. So it was like
who got positive, who got tested positive. Yeah, right.
Yeah. But the Balco thing had Marion Jones, it had all kind of big names, Ted Montgomery. It dragged in Maurice Green for a time at HSI. It dragged in a number of people who were high profile people within the sport. So Balco was the big thing. I mean, remember Balco even went to Barry Bonds and
everybody. It's the biggest thing, to be honest.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing. So I mean, Conte died recently. I remember him saying having a very unfortunate interview where he was trying to draw down Jadko here in Jamaica, having never visited Jamaica and don't know what it looks like. While I was very intimately involved with how the operations were going and the changes that WADA made. Changes, by the way, which I had suggested to the Minister of Sport at the time. But the thing about it is that, so that Balco era was
it's the worst, and we've learned a lot from that. I'll point to something you said because you made an interesting point, and I wanted to make a comment on that or just to highlight it. Statements from other athletes. So you remember if we go back to the Oregon thing, the likes of a Mo Farah and others, they immediately at some point like we had nothing to do, we're gonna leave. If it becomes that it's bigger than what it looks like, then athletes have to start moving. They have to make the statement. It just can't. It just can't.
You can't leave people to speculate because people always invariably speculate the wrong thing. Because people like. Hold on a second. Let me address this. Why does Leighton try to throw bad light on Dennis and I've never. Breathe.
I
Where
don't
is the
think
bad
that's what
light?
you were saying, you know. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I was saying
yeah.
that in the instance where if this was the case, they could separate themselves from the Marvin Bracy situation. If case you don't know, Dennis Mitchell was himself involved in a doping case many years ago when he claimed that he had sex with his wife, which is what elevated his levels of testosterone. Therefore, his history could easily connect him to something happening now. Not that that is the case, but the perception could be the case. So I'm not throwing a bad light. I've never thrown a bad light on Star Athletics. Why is it that we always try to use these negative assertions to say that when I say something or when somebody says something, you draw the worst inference from it? I've always, you've heard me talk all year about how much I respect and watch and amazed by the performances of Melissa Jefferson. I was one of the first people back when Shakira ran in 2019 when she ran 1075 in college and then eventually went to Star Athletics. I was one of the people who said she was potentially going to break the world record. I have never, Justin Gatlin, I have interviewed Justin Gatlin on many occasions while he was there. I've never said anything to suggest that Star Athletics was anything except what we've seen from them. So to suggest that I'm throwing a bad light on Star Athletics, just stop, please. One of the things that I don't like is when you make us you formulate an opinion based on what you know. You formulate an opinion based on the information that you have available. And I'm not saying I'm right all the time, and nobody is right all the time. But to suggest, what's his name, Ron Star, tell me one thing that I have said. Comment in the box. One thing that I have said that has suggested that I'm throwing Star Athletics under the bad light. There was a time when HSI had their issues as well. There's a time when MVP had their issues as well. Does it change? Does it mean that I'm throwing bad light on them because of what is fact? 2013, Asafa Powell and Sharon Simpson went through an anti-doping hearing, which I covered live every single day for Nationwide Radio and for the Gleaner. When Veronica Campbell-Brown tested positive back in, what was it, 2010? I don't remember when it was. When Shelley tested positive for what's this called again, the painkiller back in 2010. Yeah. All of those things happen, but mentioning them and putting them in context does not mean you're throwing bad light on them. You're speaking what is factual. You know, sometimes I'm sorry for going off like, but I'm annoyed.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. No, it happens. I mean, we have to think through the whole process. It's and we're not saying any we're not saying anybody there is under investigation. But I mean, but we know they're under scrutiny. There's no question about it, because it doesn't matter if one athlete in your camp gets tested positive for something, they're gonna put the entire thing under scrutiny. That's how
exactly. And when
AIU will tell you this. If you watch the AIU videos, they'll tell you that's the easiest thing to do. You know,
yeah. And where was Marvin Bracy when he tested positive? He was at Star Athletics.
Yeah. So
I don't understand it. You know. But anyway, moving on, because
so that's a kind of interesting stuff. We'll wait to see what unfolds there, and hopefully hopefully other athletes don't get caught up in it, because I never like to see that part, and that the people that they actually catch are just the people who are supplying the drugs
because remember when Justin Gatlin came back to the sport, right? One of the things that people were concerned about was that he went back to Dennis Mitchell.
Right. Yeah.
Right. But after he came back in 2010, he didn't fail on a drug test.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just what it is that if there's a phrase, what the phrase go again? Show me the company that you keep, or I don't remember exactly what the phrase is.
And I tell you who you are, or something like that.
I tell you who you are, or something like that. So some people sometimes are judged by association. I'm not saying that anybody's guilty in this case.
Right.
I'm just simply saying that Marvin Bracy went to Star Athletics in December of 2023. He ran for under tumbleweed in 2022 when he won silver in Oregon. And even Reno Ryder himself was under suspicion for several reasons as well.
Yeah.
So it's a situation where this is just fact. He moved from tumbleweed to Star Athletics. He tested positive 5 months later, less than 5 months later, and was provisionally suspended on February the 5th, 2024.
Right.
So it's not casting aspersions on Star Athletics. It's just stating a fact.
Yeah. No, for sure. All right, let's move along. I guess we're gonna still be in a critical phase because I don't know how much stock you take to this. I know you did a video on this recently too, Leighton. I would say for the last few years or so, I've stepped back from thinking about the athlete of the year conversation for two reasons. And my number one reason first is always, to me, it's kind of impossible to objectively choose across a sport that has 24 events, right? It's just like a hard thing to do. World Athletics also keeps tinkering with the formula. This year they've broken last year or this year now? And this year they've done field, they've done on the road, they've done all these different things. But I don't know if they've gotten this right. I mean, in the sense that I look at the finalists and who eventually become the finalists, especially when you think about the women of the year, and I'm not quite sure, what to make of it. For me, the biggest question is where the Beatrice Chebet question in terms of what she would have accomplished and not being in the final is kind of striking for me. How are you thinking about it? Is something that you take a lot of stock in? I know you talk about it, but how important is it for us to recognize who's the athlete of the year in a sport where to me it's not quite the same as you trying to tell me who's the best football player. It's just kind of a hard thing to do in a team sport, but
because and I think World Athletics has kind of addressed that in a way where I think they've broken down now into best field eventers and stuff like that. But it still is one of these very fluid and very gray area kind of things. As it relates to the two finalists, I think based on the reaction I've seen across social media in the news, it's this year they got it wrong. Beatrice Chebet, what she did in the last season surpasses every and anything anybody else would have ever done. And what 100%. Melissa Jefferson did is better than anything else anybody else has ever done either, other than Chebet. So for me, those would be my two finalists. Look, Sydney did something spectacular in Tokyo. We will talk about that forever. 47-70, second fastest one of all time. But when you look at Femke Ball 400 meter hurdles, she was expected to win that,
right?
Because Sydney stepped over to the 400. But when you look at Beatrice, first one under 14 minutes.
Yeah, ridiculous. 13:58:06.
Yeah, right. Yeah. She wins the 5,000 and 10,000, replicating the performance from Paris last year.
Yeah.
She's beaten everybody, all comers, who is, who's anything of him. I mean, Segai, she's beaten everybody.
Right? 3:54.7 in 1,500 meters. 1,500. Yeah,
right?
Like 8:11 in 3,000 in 3K rather. Yeah, crazy running.
Yeah, man. She beat Faith. She beat Faith for me. She deserves, right? And she got 31,000 votes on social media. The only person who had more votes on her was Faith Kipyegon.
Right.
And she's not in the final. Right? Then look at what Melissa did this year.
Yeah, only Shelley did that in 2013 rather. Yeah.
Second woman to win all three gold medals in the sprints. She runs 10:61, fourth fastest all time. A new championship record. She beat the Olympic champion in Julian Alfred. she's beaten everybody, and it's not like so she did. She did from Grand Slam track start right through to Diamond League, right through to the World Championships. How is it that then she is not a finalist for Athlete of the Year along with Grace Chebet? I mean, I would give Chebet the edge, yes.
Right.
But for me, those are the two finalists. Because remember now, and make it even worse for Melissa Jefferson. She is in a camp with Shakira Richardson, who is the previous world champion and who was the fastest one in that camp for up to this year.
Right.
And she's blown all of that out of the water in a way in which you would not have imagined had you seen her last year running 10:87 and coming, or 10:87 she ran and come third, or 10:89 and come third in Paris.
Something like that.
Yeah. So, those two women for me are above the rest. We acknowledge the greatness of what Sydney did. We acknowledge the greatness of what Femke did. Who was the fifth one? Who was the other one? I'm trying to remember who was the fifth person. But the reality is that, but those two women were, to me, head and shoulders above the rest of the world. For Chebet, the 5,000 and 10,000 meter gold, that's two of the most difficult events in track and field.
Yeah.
Melissa Jefferson is the creme de la creme of a quality collection of in the blue ribbon event of the sport as well. She beat Julian, she beat Tia Clayton, she beat Tina Clayton. She beat everybody that she ran against this year. Everybody. She's beaten everybody. Yeah. And you're telling me, and she runs unbeaten for the year, and you're telling me that she doesn't make a final. And the argument, and if you're not going to use the social media votes, how then does Sidney McLaughlin, who was second to last in the vote, in the social media votes, in the final, and Melissa Jefferson is not? Because
I'm glad you say, I want to stop you there then. So let's interrogate this part. This is the part that I am saying now. So the voting system, 50% come from World Athletics Council, right? 25% comes from World Athletics family, which usually is like people involved in the sport and in some
the federations,
the federations, the people who run these meets. So we're talking about people who are supposed to understand. So that's 75% already cleared from extremely knowledgeable people. I don't care, the social media stuff after that is just like a fanfare. There's no way. So that means people on the council, people in the World Athletics family, they need to get their head right, because this is not a sensible thing that you've done. To top that too, because I was just thinking about it. If my memory serves me correct, and I have to check this, I don't think what Chebet did too is only Bolt, I believe, and maybe Kenelisa Beckley in a long time that would have had the Olympic world titles and world record in events. At the same time, it's madness that they just pulled off there. That it's like they just threw a cloak over my eyes and tell me that, everybody's invisible or something.
It boggles my, when I saw the final, because when I saw the nominees, my first thought was, okay, this was like Chebet's year, because remember she was nominated last year and she never went on. Right? And I was like, this is Chebet's year, because what she did this year was extraordinary. And I said, if there's another finalist in it, it's going to be Melissa Jefferson. Yeah. And I remember looking, when I got the alert on my phone, I looked and saw the finalists. When I opened it, I expected to see those two. So to say Femke and Sydney, I was like, no, man, this cannot be right. Maybe open the wrong link. Let me open it again. So I don't know. So a lot of people have been put up. But I hear people talking about the cloud that hangs over Kenya with the doping issues, and the perception around Star Athletics, why those two weren't probably, elevated to the finalists. But unless they were testing positive or arose suspicion somewhere along the line, then why bother to nominate them then if that was the case? Right.
It's a garbage argument.
It's a garbage argument. So because if that was a concern, you would need to nominate them to be among the five. If you're trying to save yourself the embarrassment of a potential of something
Right.
potentially happening, it does make sense. So so yeah, I look. There are a couple of times Sydney won the year when Shelley ran it the sub 10 7 times and won world championships.
In
I think Sydney won that
20,
year as
20 in
2022.
2022.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Sydney won that year too. And the argument I got from a lot of the people who are similarly study the sport claim that it was because Sydney kept breaking world records. But and so I use that as a benchmark and say, okay, so use the world record and say, okay, fine. If that was the case, why is that Beatrice is not in the final? Because she has a world record this year.
Yeah.
Right? In fact, if I remember correctly, of the finalists, except for Faith, she's the only person who has a world record.
Yeah.
So if that was the benchmark used for Sydney for the difference between she and Shelley back in 2022, why then is a world record not the benchmark for Beatrice in 2025?
Yeah.
It don't make no sense to me.
Yeah. No, Chebbet's season is unreal. We probably won't see it for a while. And
Listen,
but
man,
the important thing about this.
Mind.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying tears came to mind when I watched the race, the 1500 final with she and Faith.
Yeah.
Just the strategy and she come on Faith's shoulder and say, okay, later. And just see somebody outrun.
Oh, the 5,000 meter, I mean. Yeah.
5,000. Sorry, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was just a special performance.
No, it is. The key thing, though, is that in the grand scheme of things, winning the Athlete of the Year title is not something that we think about when we rank athletes and their performances over time.
It's true.
And she has collected the medals and she's collected world records, so that will give her some kind of a solace. Obviously, she must be disappointed, but the thing she came to do this season, she certainly accomplished that.
Yeah, and she got a doctorate. Honorary doctorate in Kenya today as well.
Right.
Yesterday,
well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So that's really good. Yeah.
So the thing about it is this. Every sport has their little trophy things. The MVP, MVP. I mean, the NBA have them MVP, the league MVP, and of course the finals MVP. Baseball have the same thing. Football have the Ballon d'Or.
So FIFA thing too.
So there are these are the things that I think just shows the recognition to the athletes. So it's not a big deal from my perspective. It's not a big deal. It is what it is. But I think it's a nice thing to acknowledge,
right,
when an athlete does well in any particular season. To acknowledge that among your peers and among the very best of the very best, you stood out. So here's a little trinket.
Right.
But beyond that, I mean, I don't put much stock in it. I mean,
right.
It is what it is. I
hope she gets nominated for the Loris Award, so maybe she can.
Yeah. The thing I worry about with Loris is that Loris hardly ever recognizes track and field athletes.
True.
I remember Shelley won those standing things and get beaten by Serena Williams every year. So I mean that she won. When was it? 2023 that Shelley won.
Yeah.
When was it?
She finally won maybe 22 or.
It was 2022. It was 2022. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was just probably making up for the 5 times before that she was nominated and deserved to be nominated and didn't win. So, because when it comes to the people who are on the Laureus selection committee, I think the track and field has been on the pecking order. Tennis clearly takes. I mean, both they could not deny because both was the best athlete in the world for as long as he was competing. So you can't deny both's greatness. But Serena wins 2 slams and she wins Laureus. I don't know, but I think track and field is better on the pecking order of those people. So that's one of those awards that as much in its 25 years now since Laureus has been around or thereabouts.
Something like that. Yeah.
I think it is for what it is. I mean, I don't pay much attention to it. I mean, it's nice if you get it, but at the same time, maybe you don't get it.
Yeah, and what's that guy that he's on it? He's on the board of it all the time. The greatest 400 meter hurdles guy.
Yeah.
Edward Moses, right? Yeah, he's somewhere there. Papa Pete says, cheers to you. Sonia says, strange things are happening in track and field. Also says we're informative duo. Thank you for saying that.
Thank you much for
On
that. Yeah.
your channel, I think I saw a couple of things about similar to what we covered as well. There was a comment earlier that I starred from Dynamics about, is it normal for sprinters to, let me get that up. Is it normal for sprinters to change coaches so frequently? I feel like this has only been a recent trend the past few years. I don't know if you've reflected on that, Leighton. I was asking myself the same question, but sometimes if you're not keeping track all the time, I don't know if it's an abnormal year. There's certainly a lot of movement happening, but yeah.
I think there's a lot more movement these days. I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about the past, I mean, Carl Lewis, Leroy Burrell, they were with Tom Tillis for their entire careers.
Yeah.
Both with the Mills forever. Similarly, Johan after he left high school. I can't think of anybody in the past who changed coaches as often. So yeah, maybe you're onto something.
Yeah.
What I think is happening now with a lot of these kids is there is this feeling of instant gratification. So you're going to a camp and you're there for a couple of years and you're not moving the way you think you should be. And they say, okay, I need to leave. I mean, that's not the only reason. I know people have left camps for other reasons, personal things between them and them coaches. I understand that part. But what I think a lot of athletes sometimes fear, especially the local ones, I should put it that way, is that the expectation of them is unrealistic and they fall into the trap of believing those expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Wherein, you leave high school, for example, right? You come out of college and you find a camp and everybody expects you to run fast the following year. That's not how usually it works. I mean, people, I keep using this point. People forget that it took UCN 4 years to get to 2008.
Right.
And he's had a lot of trouble in between. I mean, he was in the final of 2005 and then had a hamstring injury in the 200-meter final. He came second to Tyson Gay in 2007 in Osaka. And then in 2008, he finally hit the stride that people expected him to hit. So I think, like, for example, Dina, Dina was with her coach in England. She went to Florel. She went back to England. I know she's back at Baylor.
Baylor, yeah. She went to Baylor,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
I don't know if she believes that a change in coach is somehow, because she didn't run badly this year. She won what, 10-9, she ran 10.93 this year or something like that. I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what time. But we had the discussion before where after 2019, it's like almost like she hit a wall.
Yeah.
She won Euros, she won at Worlds, and then after the pandemic, it's like she just went down and she makes finals, but she's never a contender for a medal. I mean, even look at the 200 at Worlds.
Right.
She comes out the curve close to Melissa Jefferson and then just hits a wall the last 60 meters. I don't remember where she finished. So I don't know what her thinking is in terms of those moves, those three moves now. For people like Megan Tapper, remember she was at MVP.
Right.
And then she went to Elite, won Olympic bronze, had her injury issues, and then of course moved to Lovino. I don't know. I haven't spoken to her about it, but I think that feels like something more personal to me. I'm not quite sure. I have no. But it could be that she's looking at, Maggie's 31.
New contract.
Yeah, new contract is. She probably thinks that Lovey has Masai Russell and she has Devin Charlton. So she's probably looking at, as I said, I suggested this before. I'm going to say this again, where she's looking at where Both of those women are. One is a world record holder in the 60-meter hurdles. The other one has been the fastest one in the world for the last year, 12:17 and 12:19. So Meg figures that probably Love is the best person to get the best out of her across all the phases of her race. Because not sometimes, Meg's first 5 hurdles have improved a lot. But maybe she feels she can even be better and then finish even stronger. And maybe Love is the person she believes can do that for her. But for some of the other athletes, I don't think they're bouncing around looking for a sweet spot that they'll never find because I don't think they're committed enough to the work. Because one of the things that I find, and it's something that I've spoken about before, that you sign a professional contract. A lot of these kids sign professional contracts, and they, instead of using the money to invest it or to pay for the best of what they need in terms of coaching, in terms of physiotherapists, in terms of all the different things that they need, nutrition and stuff like that. They spend the money on floss out all over the place. I don't know if people still use that term, so forgive me, I'm aged.
Right.
It's aging the term. But, they spend the money doing all kind, and they lost focus. I've always felt that when you give a youngster too much money too soon, they lose the hunger that usually drives to success. And and then eventually they don't deliver because it falls on them and the people they surround themselves with. Yes, people who want to appease them to get maybe some of the action and not telling them the right things that they need to be telling them. So they lean back on them, get back on them. Oh, I'm going to party tonight, I'm going to party tomorrow. Come at training and you're tired. You drink a whole bunch of alcohol, your body's dehydrated, you get injured. You're not focused. As my wife likes to say, focus. So a lot of it, I think, is that lack of focus that you see a lot of these movements happening. But for specific instances, I think it's more athletes looking to find that right fit for them. Because sometimes the first coach that you're thinking of is not necessarily the right fit for you. What works for one athlete doesn't necessarily work for another. We've seen over the years go to MVP because they hear that Stephen Francis is the best coach. But how many of them actually succeed? A lot of them are just fallen by the wayside that we don't talk about because it's not in our best to talk about them. But so not everybody's going to make it. So it's about because when Meg left MVP, people thought she was going to fade away, and she goes to elite performance and she runs, her best times and wins an Olympic bronze medal. So it all depends on whether or not you find the right coach. And a lot of these kids these days, they're not focused enough for one, and two, sometimes the coach that they think is a good fit for them is not the right fit for them. Take Alana Reid, for example. Alana Reid goes
I'm glad you brought it up. Yeah.
She goes to Star Athletics, didn't work out. She goes on to Arkansas, didn't work out.
Where is she going now? Because she's leaving. She was with Lawrence Johnson, right? She's leaving.
She left there. I hear she is back with Corey Bennett. My information is that she probably wanted to go to Shaniki Osborne. But knowing Shaniki, if you're not coming to her camp to be focused, she's not going to take you there. So maybe, and based on what we're hearing, and of course this is just me hearing things,
right,
that she probably wasn't as focused as she needs to be. So because look, the coaches that she's been to are good coaches. You've seen them find success with other athletes. So she's been to two of them, and boom, so.
It is. I mean, I think I always like to say athletes should, they can explore it because of relationship. So sometimes your coaching style or teaching methods don't fit your personality. And, you try, but if you consistently move from one to the next and you have no success, sometimes you have to look in the mirror in a deep way, right? To realize that maybe it's not necessarily the setup, it might be you, I'm not saying this in the case of Alana, but just in general,
Yeah. I said, Sherwood, you had put it up a while ago.
Let's get back to that because I want to touch on it. After that, I'll just ask you a few athletes who have moved around too. He was saying, building on that question, how do you explain so many leaving elite track club and how is it no one ever speaks out on why they're leaving? Because divorce are messy. But go ahead, Leighton.
Yeah, look, a couple of things. Again, this is just me speculating based on observations. Except for Shelley and Megan and Rochelle Clayton, there has been, among the other athletes, there's not been very much success. Kemba Nelson left from Oregon and came back to elite, and she hasn't run as fast as she went when she was at Oregon.
Right.
She's been barely able to make a Jamaica team since she's been at elite. So that's one thing. So some of the athletes I think probably, I mean, Karika Hill is similar. She won her second World Under-20 title, but she hasn't run as much since she joined elite. I mean, she runs sparingly. Maybe if she runs 2 or 3 races a year, that's a lot. The other thing that is even more glaring is the number of injuries that have been occurring at elite performance. Julian Fort, Rochelle Clayton, Kemba Nelson. There have been a lot of injury issues. So I don't know whether or not that's a factor with the athletes. So I'm thinking maybe they need to try a new system or a new coaching methodology to stay healthy. Because we saw Rashid Broadwell go there and then he left and went back to MVP. We saw, I was her name, Stacey left elite. That was a personal. Yeah, I won't get into the details, but that was a personal issue between she and another athlete at the club. My information is. But yeah, so I think it's probably because a lot of athletes probably went to elite and expected to make progress, and they haven't. And for some of them, it's the raft of injuries that they've experienced while there. So maybe they don't think that setup is working for them. So I think that's a combination of reasons why people have left elite performance.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I mean, and people just don't talk about these things afterwards. At least they don't publicly. Sometimes leaving is not the right. You never want to air your dirty laundry.
Because look, what I just said a while ago is based on what I see. The athletes who left might have left for completely different reasons.
All right. Here's the one that I want to talk about because we've spoken about this for a while, and it's been it's what's his name? He's just went to coach Flo, the 400-meter guy that was with Michael Norman. I don't know. Have you seen that he's gone now to? He's leaving. Oh, my head it's getting late for me. What's the guy that used to run 400? Quincy Watts. Yeah, he's leaving Quincy. Yeah. I don't understand the Mike Norman thing. I don't know if he loves the sport. I don't want to say that, but yeah.
Well, you wouldn't be wrong because I get the same impression. He's gone to where? Flo, no, he's gone to.
I think they say he's going to coach Flo. I think I didn't know if you confirmed it or not, but I think I saw that somewhere. Yeah.
Michael won. What year did he win? Was it 2019?
The World Championship?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it? It's all the way back then? Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to know. Check. Yeah.
But then I know he was hurt for a while.
Yeah.
I know he was hurt for like an entire season. I think that was.
No, it was in Eugene. He won the 400. Yeah. 2022. Yeah.
2022. Yeah. But I know he was hurt. He was hurt. That kept him off for pretty much an entire season. But people I've spoken with in the US give me the impression that Michael Norman is not a big fan of the sport. You know what I mean? You don't have that kind of passion where you think you want to be the greatest of all time and all that kind of thing. He's doing it because he has a talent for it and he's making some money from it. And he's kind of an academic as well, based on what I'm hearing. Right. So maybe he doesn't have that kind of fire. So he's hurt and he's like, let's just run out a contract and then probably it's what comes next. I don't know. It's hard to guess because I've never spoken to him. Um, but based on what people tell me, they don't seem like he has that fire, that thing that drives champions. I mean, he won in 2022 because he was good. I mean, you can't deny he's. I mean, I think
Right.
what did he win? 43-4. I think he. I don't know what.
Yeah, I
What he
think,
won a
yeah.
fast time. So
His PB is 43, 45 from
yeah,
2019, but yeah.
yeah,
But
yeah. But he clearly has talent. But the talent alone doesn't usually do. You have to have that fire in your belly. You have to
yeah.
have that thing that makes you want to be the best of the best. And I don't know if he has it. But that's just mere speculation on my part.
Yeah, no, from my vantage point, I get the same thing. I think the last time I saw him was at Penn Relays doing something for Toyota. I think he was still injured or not running that season. But interestingly, when you look at him as a special athlete in terms of ability, the guy has a sub 44, a sub 20, a sub 10,
Sub 10.
is what, 1980, he was around 1986, I think, over 100, if my memory serves me correctly. So he's in
Yeah.
that kind of elite category there where only, was it Wade and Fred Curley, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of a interesting kind of a space to be. And you can't give him fire. You have to have that fire is something that you have to develop within yourself in order to sustain the kind of rigor of being a professional athlete. But I hope he can come back too and probably run a couple good races because he's too talented for us to not have him in the sport.
Yeah, he's extremely talented, as you just pointed out.
Yeah,
Sub 10, sub 20, sub 44. I mean, the talent is clearly there.
yeah,
But whether or not he wants it, enough is probably what makes a difference.
right, right. Let me get a couple comments and we probably can wrap this up. Sonia was saying Alana was running much slower at the club she was. It can't get any worse for her. Hopefully not. I mean, she's still, how old is Alana?
She
20?
just turned 20, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
She
There's a
run,
lot
she
up.
run
The
another-
upside is high. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, she's still young. And maybe she needs to mature a little bit because, based on what I'm hearing, it's more a lack of focus than anything else. And maybe Corey, because Corey is the coach here at Heidel, he maybe understands how to get her to that level
right.
where she is locked in. Because if you're not locked in, you're not going to make it. If you're spending more time doing whatever it is that you want to do, the lack of discipline is going to pay its price eventually.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Somebody saying ETH back at the league now confirmed. We confirmed that.
Yeah. We saw that. Yeah, it was on the papers too, I guess. Sherwood is saying that he's worried about Elaine going back to elite because of the injuries, but I don't.
Yeah, but look, in real terms, that's probably the best fit for Elaine right now. She can't go back to Shaniki Osborne.
Right.
That situation
Bridge
was
burned.
yeah, that bridge was not burned but exploded. Right? Right? She as long as she is in that relationship where she's not going back to MVP. And those are probably the two other coaches she could have gone to who are capable of bringing her back to some level of where she used to be. And so elite is most likely the best place where she's going to be. The key thing is managing that Achilles situation and maybe in discussion with Ronaldo, they've come to some kind of understanding that, hello, this is what needs to be done to ensure that I can stay healthy. Because she was in the States for some amount of time and she wasn't running, she was training, but she wasn't competing at all, which suggests to me that she wasn't able to run. So listen, man, for me, it's such an unfortunate situation for her. Honestly, I feel for her. I don't think people even understand how I feel for her. When you're when you run 10:54, you're just when the Olympic, you lead the Olympic record, and you run 10:54 on August 21st, I think it was, which is like 3 weeks later.
Right.
And you are at the pinnacle of the sport in terms of the fastest woman alive. Nobody can beat you. When you're at your best, you're beating the next best, Shelly and Fraser Price. I think that's in the head
by a tenth of a second or so.
Yeah, right. The day when Shelly ran 10:60, right? Elaine ran 10:64. I've never seen anybody run 10:60 and somebody closing on them at fast. That's how good Elaine is or was. Elaine is when Elaine is healthy, she's imperious. And I was looking at some breakdowns of the 100 between she and Flojo the other day. And I'm telling you, the margins are so thin between that 10:54 and that 10:49.
Yeah.
So Elaine was right there. And you would have thought that over the next 2 or 3 seasons, you'd have seen her dominate in ways in which all the bolts would probably dominate.
And then with Jackson coming, they would have pushed the 200 meter. The 200 meter world record would have gone.
Probably gone, yeah. Right? And for her though to literally she's not like it's a girl that will fall off on the precipice. Listen, man, I remember watching her run in New York when she picked up that injury and then she was limped off the track. And I'm telling you, I'm saying this publicly now. It brought tears to my eyes, I mean, even talking about it now, it's emotional for me because I know I used to watch this girl run at Intercal Champs and watch her eventually evolve into this machine.
Right.
And I think a lot of people feel the same way about her. That, when I remember back in 2021, I remember I was on the panel at Sportsmax and they asked me, and before they started the 100 meter final, and they said to me, Leighton, what's your pick for the 100? And I said, listen, Shelly is in great form, but a healthy Elaine does not lose to anyone. And boom, 10:61, pointing to the clock for the last 5 meters. You remember that? So yeah, man. So it's listen, man. I'm fighting back the emotion right now. But I wish to God that somehow she comes back and runs somewhere decent that we can say, hey, that's the Elaine that we used to see.
Right. And I think the final point on the injury is that the difference here too is that they know there's a long-standing injury. It's not going in like you're just training an ordinary athlete. You're training someone with a history, so they have to work it out. I don't think it's a big deal. We'll see.
Yeah.
Last one for me. Glenn is working up some nice hurdlers now, right? So he obviously has Kobe. Now Akira going there. What you think what because I think our challenge with Akira is not necessarily, it's definitely not ability. It's trying to be in the right space, maybe mentally at the right time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Akira, she's a nice girl, but I think her emotions tend to get the better of her, put it that way. And I think going into Mills is a very calming guy. Glenn is not into no drama. Right. And I think the success that you saw him with Toby Anderson last year, I think she probably thought that, hey, Glenn doesn't have a big crew of people working with. And, the hurdlers work with Sewell, who is a brilliant coach. Sewell still works with Calabar. He worked with Orlando Bennett. He's worked with some talented hurdlers. I mean, I think, no, he wasn't. He's worked with Rashid Brother, but he's a solid hurdles coach. And I think what Glenn will do with Akira is he will make her faster. I remember talking to Chris Johnson a few years ago when she was at Arkansas. I think I mentioned this to you before, where he said that he believes that she can be as good in the 100 as she's in the hurdles. So if Glenn gets a chance to work with her and strengthen, because clearly she's not as strong as she needs to be.
Right.
So if Glenn can work on her and work on her speed, and they learn to manage that, because I remember watching her at the
Grand Slam.
It was Grand Slam. I tried to remember which meet it was where we're looking at her at Stadium East warming up. and her speed was phenomenal between the hurdles, you know. And I remember she came to trials and ran 12:28, and then she ran 12:24. So if Glenn can get her speed up and then learn to manage that speed between the hurdles, I think there's nothing but upside for her.
Yeah.
So I don't. And Glenn Glenn has always had the reputation of not being successful with women, and I think because the sample size is so small
Right.
in terms of, I mean, River Campbell in high school.
Yeah.
He worked with Karen Stewart, but Karen Stewart was not at her best at the time. Remember, when Karen came to Glen, her hamstring was done from 2010
Right.
when she tore that hamstring in France.
He had Aileen
And,
Bailey a little bit too, right?
and he had
Yeah.
aliens a little bit
Yeah.
as well.
Mm.
But what we saw him do with Toby last year, and she got that. I saw her a couple of meets locally. She ran really fast. I think if he does the same with Akira, she will be hard to beat as well. So yeah, we'll see. And I think it's a nice challenge to keep Glenn interested. I think
Right.
Glenn probably he gets a little bit bored with the sprinters because he knows what to do. I mean, what he's done with Oblique Seville is phenomenal.
Right.
But maybe he needs a new challenge to keep himself sharp. So we'll see.
No, I like it. I definitely like it. But I mean, if he wants challenge, he should. Let's get Antonio Watson back at the top and a bunch of other 400-meter runners. That would be great. Anyway, Leighton, it's been great. I mean, we'll do this again soon. Tell us what you got coming up. I know you've been doing some great interviews. I don't know if you want to preview anything that we're gonna.
I just did an interview this evening with Natoya Gould because she was just inducted into the Clemson University Hall of Fame. I asked her why is it that LSU, because she had a better record at LSU than she had at Clemson. But she's not touching that issue at all. But when I did an interview with her about that, and I'm from a non-track and field perspective, I am doing an interview with Audrey Allwood. For those who don't know who Audrey Allwood was, she was like the elite of Jamaica's female bodybuilders back from about 87 until about 2000 and retired. And she went to her first tournament in 25 years last weekend in the Bahamas and won 7 first place medals, 4 second place medals, 1 third place medal, and 1 fourth. I'm doing an interview with her tomorrow, actually. And those videos will be out sometime over the weekend into early next week, as soon as I can have a chance to edit them. Because I'm doing virtually everything on my own, which is pretty cool because I've never edited before, but I'm learning to edit, which is really nice to be able to do. And I have some other interviews lined up. I'm hoping to be able to get, I'm working on trying to get a couple of, well, I can't tell you, I'm trying to get Dina Asher Smith. I'm going to actually reach out to her, to the agency this weekend to see if I can get her to talk about.
She's with Doyle, is it?
No man, Ricky. Bulls.
Sims, Ricky Sims. Yeah.
Ricky Sims. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get her, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed. I'm planning to send an email to Melissa Jefferson to say she would grant me the time as a 3-time triple world champion. She give our little channel a little boost. So I'm hoping to be able to probably get her on the channel. Yeah. So that's some of the things I plan to do. But for now, I have Natoya Gould and I have Audrey Allwood that's coming up next.
Cool. And a lot of cool interviews on the channel. You had Brianna Williams recently, which was a good listen to.
Cool. Yeah, and I'm actually, that's an interesting story, but I have to talk to you off the air about that one because I can't speak about what I was asked not to mention, not to speak to any at all regarding Brianna Williams. So I'll leave that until I get permission to speak to that publicly.
Right. Appreciate that. Well, good to have you again and good to always be in conversation. Don't forget to subscribe to Leighton's channel, subscribe to my channel as well. And we'll be back. I mean, send us some questions and comments on the thing and we'll try to answer them at another time. All right.
Yeah, and one more thing. Let me just apologize for that outburst earlier on the show. I don't like when people make assumptions on what I'm trying to say. I think as a journalist, I try to be as unbiased as possible, which is more often than not overachieved. Because even people that their information that I have access to that I cannot speak publicly to. but never assume that I'm trying to besmirch somebody's reputation or sully somebody's reputation just because I'm speaking to the facts that I have. So I'll apologize for that because it ruined my mood for a moment, and that's not
Mm.
what my intention was when we came here tonight. But I don't do that. And look, we're journalists. We're not out here to try to tarnish anybody's reputation or tarnish anybody's lives. We're just working with the information that we have. If you don't like the information, well, there's more very little I can do about that. But I will say this publicly right now. Never assume that I'm trying to besmirch somebody's reputation. That's not who I am. I never will be. So yeah, so I just hope that apology is accepted.
No, I mean, no, I don't think you had to apologize either. Leighton. I mean, you're a man of integrity. We know your work. It's really strong, and sometimes people misinterpret what you might be saying, but that's not necessarily on you. Anyway, all right, guys, it's been good, and thank you all for supporting the channels, and we'll be back another time. All right, take
Yep.
care.
Take it easy, guys.
All right.